This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Morning everyone. It's an interesting morning here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, but we are giving you a wonderful view of the good old wildebeest herd on quarantine, with the grass so long that you can barely see them. The grass is only going to get longer as summer continues. We got rain last night, and I don't actually know if we're in store for rain today. But good morning, my name is Lauren and I do have Owen on camera this morning, and we're going to head straight to the hyena den, catch up with that, and then we're going to track to see if Tlalamba crossed back in from Torchwood and try and get an update on Tandy and Mareebs. That is the plan for this morning. But there are heavy clouds. It's raining in Pridelands apparently, which is not too far away from us. But I don't know, I don't think it's going to rain here actually, but who knows. Summer brings all sorts of weird and wonderful weather, but of course this safari is live and interactive, so we deal with the weather as it comes, and it also means that you must talk to us. And please do send in your comments and questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or if you're on the website, as long as you've registered, you can submit your questions under the live safari page. Can barely see the wildebeest, can you believe that? And of course, kids, if you're watching, please do talk to us. Please, please. You send in your questions just a little bit differently. You send them in via email. And the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. The skies look heavy in the background, but I think that's from last night. I'm hoping it's all going to burn off. Hoping. Wishful thinking, possibly. Michael, you're saying hi everyone. Hi from Team Wendy. Hoping for a good morning. These kind of mornings absolutely have good sightings because the animals are so mobile on the really, really hot, sunny days. Sometimes it's even too warm by this time. You're already complaining about the heat. So this morning, it's perfect. And I am just going to check in at the hyena den because we come many times and it's not active. So you want to catch it active. We're learning a lot. We're gaining a lot. There's lots of activity. It's not just a flat sleeping hyena. And of course, the leopards are just a bit scarce right now, and this is quite normal. I remember the past 3 summers like this. So I think we need to try and get an update on Tandy and Mareebs. If they move north, we should get them, unless they move too far north and they go into Torchwood, sorry. It'd be nice to see them together, because he's getting big. Okay, I've already mentioned in great detail that I don't want it to rain, but let's take a look at the weather.
Good morning, everybody. I think it is already drizzling in the northwest of Djuma, and at the moment I'm currently busy bumbling to see if I can catch up with the older lioness that we had reports of on the northwestern boundary yesterday. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide here on safari this morning. Behind the camera is Gert, and we are currently on a tracking mission. It does make it a little bit more difficult because unfortunately it rained last night, which is fantastic for the bush, but for us it does mean that any tracks of the lions will have washed away overnight. I do think that they were going either back north or back west from where I left them last night, but the lioness that I'm talking about is the older one that has slight injuries to her back legs and her hips from the hyenas. She's a very, very old lioness. We had reports of her on the boundary yesterday. We went past, but we couldn't find her. And she was following slightly behind the pride, so possibly looking for some scraps of food where they had the buffalo carcasses. And so I'm hoping that she will be somewhere along this section from Sandy Patch, north and west, in a bit of a block, trying to follow behind the pride. So I can't tell you which way the pride went. In my gut, I feel like they went back north, but I might be wrong. Unfortunately, there are no tracks. But we are trying carefully to check in case there's a small patch under a tree or something like that, where maybe the tracks have managed to stay intact. So far we've seen some very nice fresh elephant tracks and some very fresh hyena tracks on top of the rain, which means they've moved through here fairly recently, and that makes me happy. Makes me very happy because I would love to see some more elephants today. It's one of my favorite animals to spend time with. Always just lovely to be able to spend time with them since they are so majestic, gentle giants. It is quite a light drizzle, so this does mean that the lions might actually still be moving. It doesn't mean that they're going to be sleeping, trying to hide from the rain under a bush. They could definitely still be moving at this point. And so what I want to do is just make sure that we are not missing any opportunity to find them. But I'm seeing just hyena tracks at the moment. So my plan is to actually go and check at the dam where they had the carcass, go and check around that area to see if there's any tracks crossing north. Hopefully there might be a patch there where we can see some tracks that have remained. And then I'll go and check the western boundary, Triple M, to go and see if there's any tracks of them crossing out that way. After that, if we still haven't got any tracks, I'm going to be looping around, going towards Treehouse Dam, and doing a bit of a zigzag to see if there are any tracks at all that I can pick up on. There's some fresh buffalo dung in the road. That's exciting. Maybe the lions are following the buffaloes again. David, unfortunately, if there's a fairly consistent rain, even if it's a light rain, but it's at a consistent level, the tracks can wash away within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. And it does seem like we had quite a bit of rain sometime early this morning. So the only way that we will find tracks again is if they make fresh ones. If they are still moving and I manage to find those tracks, then we'll be able to track them from there. Unfortunately though, it doesn't seem like there are any fresh tracks moving this way. So either they moved before the rain, which is very likely, or they've moved somewhere in the middle of a block and not crossed a road yet, which is also very likely. Could be a combination of both. So what I'm hoping for is on the boundaries themselves, there's very sandy patches towards the end. So on the sides and towards the mitre drains, it's a lot thicker sand, and what that means for tracking is that even if it's raining, I might not be able to see the distinct features of the track, but from the sides, I should still be able to see the track quite clearly. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. At the moment, it seems like it is mostly hyena tracks, moving sometime this morning after the rain. Although, lots of impala tracks too. It's an open clearing, so we have got some impalas. And that tells me that the lions might not necessarily be here if the impalas are looking very relaxed. Which they certainly are. I'll actually show you some now. They're in the road and looking as though nothing has been here at all during the night. I mean, that being said, we did have impalas in the clearing yesterday. There are quite a few impalas kind of just relaxing on the edge here, so I want to spend a minute with them and just listen in case we can hear any alarm calling or any sounds around here that would indicate the lions might still have moved through.
We're going to keep driving for now. In that first hour of drive, it's really important, in my opinion, to just keep moving. Because animals will be moving. And that's when you want to pick up on all the signs, the smells, the audio. Maybe even bump into the animal themselves. Wouldn't that be lovely? And sort of that window just before the sun comes up too high, and that window where just before the sun is setting, is when you'll really get a hyena den the most active. It's also active at night time, but naturally we're not going on safari at 2 in the morning. No. We are in bed. So that's why we want to just check all these places before we slow it down. And once that sun normally gets too high, which I'm not sure will happen today, and then we start to slow it down a little bit and focus on all the other things. You've got to piece together what happened at night time in the reserve. That's my favorite thing about the sunrise safari. What happened last night? Who moved where? Who came in? Who went out? It's difficult to look for tracks, so we did get rain last night, so tracking's going to be difficult. Beautiful in the morning like this. I do struggle with the lack of ambient light though. I really do struggle with that. My eyes are not entirely equipped. But we're about 2 minutes out from the hyena den, so I'm going to keep bumbling and let's hope that it's active.
Okay, so this is exactly why we like to do boundary roads. I don't think we'll be able to show you. Hey, Gert, it's a little bit too close. What do you think? Yeah, they're right next to the car, but we found tracks of that lioness, and this is exactly why I wanted to come up here. So the tracks are on the left-hand side of the road and heading straight west towards Gowrie Gate. So this is the boundary where we had reports of her yesterday. We couldn't find her. The grass is very, very thick, and she must have been sleeping very soundly. And her tracks are now going straight west, which makes me think the lions, instead of coming back north, have done a bit of a loop and come back out on the western boundary. So I do want to go and check that. I have got a spider friend. Yeah. Got a spider friend and some impala friends. I don't know how easily you'll be able to focus on it, but there's a spider that is coming down from my rain roof. A little bit, maybe higher up, I think.
Just keep your finger there.
Keep my finger there. There we go. Oh, there he is. Hello, spider friend. The spiders really seem to like my rain roof, everybody. This is now the third time that I've had a spider coming down towards my face from the rain roof. You can see there is quite a breeze because we're sitting still, but the spider is still catching the breeze as it's moving. And the little bit of web actually looks like it's going from one side of the rain roof to the other with a bit of an arc in the middle, and it's dipping down in front of my face. And the joyous part of that is as I'm driving, I'm pretty sure at some point it's going to end up on my hat again. That seems to be the way it goes with me and my luck with spiders. I tend to find them on my hat. I was never the biggest fan of spiders growing up, but I learned to love them with all the other creepy crawlies. Some of them are more scary than others to me. And in fact, it's the really small ones that actually get my heart racing. The big ones I'm okay with because I can see where they're moving. They don't really tend to be venomous or bite much, and they're slower. The little ones move really fast, really fast. Tiny, I'm glad you think that this spider is cute. It is quite a tiny spider, in fact. So, yeah, I'm glad you think it's cute. It is quite sweet. It's a greenish color, but I'm just hoping it stays there and doesn't end up like that. So I do want to just have a little bit of a scan here. We just arrived at the dam where the lions have been for the last few days. I just want to have a scan and see if there's any signs of any other animals. There have been some fresh elephant tracks in the area, and there have been a lot of hyena tracks, so it's always worth having a look. Sorry if you can hear a funny sound. That was my binoculars coming up to my face. But I don't see anything. The grass is so long though. We had a whole pride of lions here and couldn't see them the other day. So for the most part it looks very nice and peaceful here. Some Egyptian geese here and there. Elias, usually yes, lions will travel within their own territory, but remember their territories are going to be quite big, so they can move within their territory and follow wherever the food sources are. But they don't really cross over into another lion's territory unless they're absolutely desperate. So you might find that this actually happens a little bit more in winter occasionally because there's less water available and because the animals have to travel further for water, and specifically water and food. So going somewhere where there's a higher water area, the food is better. So things like buffaloes will move out of their territories. If they need to find food and they don't have any in their territory, they'll have to move to find it. So that does tend to happen occasionally, but then they are a little bit more tolerant of it. Usually the only time you would find lions actively trying to get out of their territories if they're trying to expand their territory or take over from another male. Then you find the males might move between territories. And particularly remember, sub-adult males are going to be moving through different territories all the time. When they become independent, they cannot stay in the same area. They have to keep moving because if they stay in one area, the dominant males of that particular area will seek them out. So they will have to hop between different territories until they're old enough and large enough to be able to challenge a male in a particular area and take over that pride. And then they'll become bound to that territory again. So it's quite an interesting process. It also, I think, will depend area to area. It might be slightly different where some are more likely than others to move depending on the resources available. But normally it happens with the males in particular. Lionesses tend to stick to their own territory quite strictly. That's because they don't want to stray out and have their cubs killed. If they leave a territory and bump into other male lions who are not the fathers of those cubs, they're putting those cubs at risk because young cubs will get killed. And on top of that, all animals want to avoid conflict as much as possible. So that means that as much as possible for any animal, they will do anything they can to avoid any form of conflict in their whole life. Okay, I'm going to keep going from here. I'm going to go and check the western boundary to see if the tracks have crossed out anywhere, and we'll head over to Lauren on a bumble.
Good luck, Lauren. Hope you find your lions. I think our director is getting us a little bit muddled up today. It's very confusing. Anyway, we checked the hyena den and no luck at all. Empty. And I think it's because I don't actually know what time the rain went off. I slept so good last night and so early. Do you know what time it stopped raining, Owen? I think Owen was in a deep sleep as well. Pretending he knows. Early this morning. Okay. That's good. But the ground is wet, the grass is wet, and, well, there are no hyenas, which is rather unfortunate. But I do want to pop into the Chitwa side. It's also very quiet down that side, but try and get an update on the radio. The radios are not functioning so well, on top of already being not great for the Eastern Channel, but we'll do our best. I would really love to see that pair, and if we don't see them together, at least if we see one of them individually, that'll keep me more than happy. And then we'll start searching for Tlalamba, or maybe we should go there first. Yes, change my mind. Anna Marie, you cross your fingers for Spotted Kitty. Keep them crossed. We may. Actually, a lot has changed here since I was last here, and Juma has now closed down, as many of you know. It's not a commercial lodge anymore. So none of the sort of team that we had here, Vixen, Mike, Fanotti, Aubrey, they're not operating anymore. They're not driving anymore. And no landowners are coming here really at the moment. Not really. So it's quiet. It's really, really quiet. Which means that Tessa and I will do our very best to cover the reserve. We're trying to strategically separate in the morning. So for example, today Tessa went west and she's going to head north. I went sort of south and I'm going to head east. Just to sort of cover all bases. But it's quiet. So I am hoping for a Spotted Kitty too. It's been a while. But I know I lucked out with Tlalamba that day, 2 days in a row. That was just so magical. Many of you are still messaging me about that, how it all just played out. And that's really what I love about the bush. You can have some really frustrating days where things are just not going your way and you can see tracks, but you're just not piecing it together. We've all been frustrated out here on the team, because we're trying really hard to actually find you guys what you want to see. But that day, that particular day, everything just aligned. Stopped for a butterfly, saw the tracks, followed the tracks. Wasn't going to turn my nose into that little sneaky off-road track. And at last minute I thought, let's do it, let's just do it. And lo and behold, there was Tlalamba waiting. And immediately, within seconds, she called the cubs out. It was really, really, anyway, everything aligned that day. But Anna Marie, as you know, it doesn't always align. But we shall try. And the bush is so thick. And what's actually happened when I first arrived here in 2018, it was on the back of a drought. So when I came, it was so different. It was really, really so different. You wouldn't believe it. And it was winter when I arrived. But with that summer that came, the next summers to follow were so giving. It went from being sort of drought conditions to being the best summers with a lot of water. And we actually had one summer, I think it was it 2019 or 2020? 19, where we were almost worried. The landowners were discussing the possibility of flooding. Are we going to get too much water? Although the rain is an absolute blessing, you don't want dams to flood. You don't want landscapes to be destroyed. Sometimes I think they enjoy the chase. Let's see. Good morning, guys. How are you? And yes, at the end of the day, it was a little bit worrying. So the summers have been so lush that every year it's getting thicker and thicker and thicker. So I'm going to concentrate on finding some animals for you. But now we're going to send you over to Tess.
Okay, so I'm really, really happy that we decided to stay at the dam, and I'm hoping these hyenas keep coming this way. But everybody get your ID faces on. I only know that one of these hyenas is June. I saw her with her head down and her folded over ear. But the rest of them we're not sure, and it looks like they're slowly edging towards the game path. Yes, they're coming back. They're edging towards the game path that's coming straight out behind these quarries. So I'm hoping we're going to get a nice clear view of them. We've got 5 hyenas. We actually noticed the impalas standing and staring. And just moving a little bit further back, stopping, we notice the hyenas coming out one by one. They've got their noses to the ground. They're sniffing, and I think they're looking for where those lions went. Possibly that older lioness, because she is slower than the rest of the pride. Oh, they're coming out the left, hat. Oh, and the right. Wow, both. All right, everybody, let's see if we can ID these hyenas. Hello, Jim Clan. They are looking really dirty, as though they've been feeding somewhere. And they're walking really fast. I know it is quite tough to tell when they're face on, but I'm hoping we get to see their sides a bit. Right, there were some stripes down one side and stripes and spots. June is actually further left. There she comes with a folded ear. And these hyenas are on an absolute mission. They're actually coming around the car. Hello, sweet ones. All of the hyenas going all different directions around us. Have we got 6 now? I feel like we've got 6. Hello, sweet one. Right, let me see if I can swing a little bit. Right, which way are we going? Across. Beautiful. We've got a road coming up here. Let's use the road. Okay, so this tells me that the lines have been moving during the night. I'm very, very happy about that. Because if they were just going towards this, then we would have a very different situation. They are sniffing as they go. Okay, it's going to be quite a difficult yoga move for Gert at the moment. Because of the rain roof, we have to go very, like a 90 degree to the left. But again, they're all sniffing and moving, and now you might get a better chance to help me identify them, because now we're seeing some of their sides. Alright, we are on the trail of something exciting here, folks. Have a look at those tails, very communicative in hyenas. Tails are up, they're very interested in something. They're on the trail. So they could even be following the scent of another hyena. But my gut is telling me they're following the lions and sniffing around like this. Have a look at those tails. Swazi and Ndebele, Heart and June. So we've got 1 left to identify. Thank you for the help, everybody. Interesting. So these are the ones that were at the den site yesterday with Lauren. Auntie Bele, Mummy Heart. Ah, Kaikau, the last one. 2nd time, no, 3rd time I'm now meeting that hyena. That is very exciting. Thank you so much for the help, everybody. It's much appreciated. Alright, so we've actually got quite a large proportion of the Juma clan here, and the main characters that we have actually been seeing in the last few days as well. And actually, since my last stint in December, that was when I met quite a few of those hyenas in particular. Okay, so they are moving into a drainage line, and they're starting to move back down towards Sandy Patch. So what I'm actually going to do, I can't follow them off the road, so I'm going to jet around to the other side and see if I can find them again from Sandy Patch side. I think they are following the scent of the lions. That lioness is coming west and she cuts south. I think they're following that scent, headed back towards Sandy Patch, and then from there they might head back toward the den site. So hopefully that is indeed what is happening. I'm hoping that I don't lose signal as I'm moving now. But how exciting to have those hyenas just come right out like that, out of nowhere, and using the impalas to actually help find them. That's why we like looking for herbivores and using them to tell what might be around. Okay, wish me luck, everybody. Let's see if I can find them again.
We haven't had much luck on our side this morning, I'm afraid. Insects are not buzzing. The birds are not yet taken to the skies. But we've not had any rain, that's a good thing. So we are just going to keep checking the eastern slice of the reserve. But I think I'm just going to pull up at this junction and give you some beautiful views of the heavy skies ahead of us. Can you work with this, Owen? It's very difficult for the cameraman when we've got a rain roof on. But I'm sure he'll do a wonderful job. And we can just sit and listen for a second. Listen to all the sounds around us. Isn't it lovely to just watch the grey skies and listen? Oh, and which dead tree are you looking at?
Furthest one. So you see the big one?
I can't with my own... Oh, that's really far away. Okay, let's get a closer look. I think we can go a bit closer to this tree. Owen and I have different views. It's amazing the thing I've learned over the years and how your cameraman can see sometimes what you can't see. Like when we sit at the hyena den, I actually can't see most of the time. It's thicket in front of me. Owen's about 1.5 meters behind of me. So obviously I rely on the monitor. But it's amazing that what difference the angles make. He's also higher. Okay. And now I see it. Let me know when we need to stop, Owen, because of the rain roof. Can we get a little bit closer? Yeah. Next to the pan. Okay. I think there may be... Can we get past this thicket? I think you'll manage from the side. Yeah. Alrighty. There we go. Oh, that's a hornbill. Where's the bird you were looking at, Owen? I didn't see it. It's gone.
Yeah.
Ah, wow. He gone. Apologies, everybody. Oh, look at you. Can you see? There's an elegant grasshopper just clinging onto the grass here. Okay, this may be a bit of a challenge, so we are going to send you over to Tez with our hyenas.
Okay, so we have bumped into the hyenas again. They've just crossed over Vuyatela access just to the north of Sandy Patch. And it looks like all 5 of them are still smelling the ground. And the good news is we found the lion tracks, and this is where the lion tracks go. So I do feel like the hyenas are on the trail, possibly looking for some food. Now the boundary is just on the other side of where these hyenas are going. So I feel like I'm going to be doing little loops all the way around today. And there are some very strange dynamics happening at the moment. Now bear in mind, they could be following the actual scent of the lions and the tracks, because there are, I mean, it's a clear game path that they're using, and we have had the lion tracks here. Or they could actually also be following another hyena that's been following the game path. So it's quite an interesting situation. I'm going to turn because the boundary link is right behind me, and I'm going to go and have a look. If we can catch them again on the boundary, maybe they can lead us to where the lions have crossed over in the rain. But hopefully we get to have another little brief view of them as well, so we can have a look, see if we can gather some more information and see what's happening. It's so good to see them popping out. That was actually so lucky. We took it nice and slow on this road. We're about halfway between Gowrie Gate and Sandy Patch at the moment, just north of Sandy Patch. So I'm going to go around. The boundary road is literally right here, so we're driving a wedge at the moment. It's actually a 3-tiered wedge. We were on the northern boundary, now we're going to the western boundary at the moment. We're here in the middle. And the hyenas have crossed from one straight through the top northwestern corner of Djuma, straight out the other side. Oh, this is so exciting. What is happening? Don't you love being able to follow animals and use other animals to identify new animals? So much going on. And I can say I'm very happy to see Swazi with some other hyenas for a change. Normally when I see Swazi, he's either in camp or he thinks he's a wild dog. One of those two options. Those are the only times I've seen Swazi. I've never seen Swazi with the other hyenas. So that is very exciting stuff. Okay, we are on the boundary, and I'm sure the lion tracks, they've also spotted the lion tracks, so we've got a game cruiser with the tracker out of the vehicle. Willow, there actually will be other clans in the surrounding areas, but not necessarily in Djuma itself. So in Djuma we seem to only have the Djuma clan. There's the lion tracks. Hello lion tracks, going straight down the road. So we will have other clans in the surrounds, but on Djuma itself we only have the Djuma clan, and there's so many dynamics happening within the Djuma clan itself that it's actually very interesting, because it's one of the most well documented clans that we have, that we know of, that I've ever heard of in history. So it is really nice to be able to really have a look at that and study it. If you want to see the lion tracks, maybe Kat can point them out to you. They're walking along the right-hand track here. There's a very clear set of tracks. These are the lion tracks. They turned out and they're now going, luckily, south on the boundary. So they're actually not a little bit to the left, those ones. Right on the left of the screen, there we go. Those are lion tracks. And on top of them is hyena tracks as well. So the lions are definitely going south along the boundary here. I am so excited, everybody. Imagine if we got to use impalas, who were just looking very alert, to find the hyenas and use the hyenas to find the lions. That would be quite a knock-on effect for the morning. I think that would absolutely make my day. I'm also just having a look, see if we can see the hyenas anywhere, because they should be popping out somewhere in front of us here as we go. Oh, goodness, what a morning. Okay, let me see if I can find the hyenas for you. And in the meantime, we will send you over to Lauren.
Wow. We have been sitting with this bird a really long time, and it was in fact a black-chested snake eagle. And the reason I was so excited was because I have never put one of those on camera, ever. Okay, shall we move on? That was going to be my first live one. You don't really get them too much here in this area. And I like to get a close-up view of a raptor before I confirm, because the minute you say the wrong thing, you've said the wrong thing. So that's why I always like to get closer. That is a bummer. I don't think it can be counted as being live. Birds don't stay still for long. Anyway, score. That is exciting. You can be forgiven for thinking it's a marshal from very far away, from a long distance visual, if you can just pick out that sort of really dark brown head that deep dips into the chest, and it's a white chest. You could be forgiven to think it's a marshal, but it's definitely not, and it's a lot smaller than a marshal. Got the same sort of silhouette, the same sort of outline as a brown snake eagle, but naturally it's not. And that is the first one I have managed to ever put on camera here. And that's me being here 3.5 years now. Very cool. I'm happy. Well spotted, Owen. Jake, there's no rain here. It's just a normal day. It's a little bit overcast, Jake. You're 8 years old and you're asking me, do birds struggle to fly in this weather? And no, it's really just a normal day. I'm just complaining because there's a lack of ambient light. I struggle with the lack of ambient light. But we don't have rain. I don't really think we're going to get rain. And it's not super windy, thank goodness. Wind is my least favorite type of weather, Jake. And no thunder, no lightning. It's just really overcast. So birds are absolutely fine. They're not like insects. So insects are ectothermic, and that means that they get their power to sort of start their day and fly and buzz around as insects do from the sun. So they really do need to wait until the sun comes up. But birds are like us, just like mammals are endothermic. Although most of us love the sun, we don't need the sun to go about our day. Scotland is great proof of that. We still have jolly good days without sun. But good question, Jake. Keep them coming. We are now looking at some Inyalas. Inyalas are nowhere near as numerous as the impala. And we've got a nice contrast here because we've got the ladies, we've got the female, and we've also got a big bull. And you can see how different they are. Really, you could never be confused. With impala, I would forgive you if you got a little bit confused from a distance. But with Inyala, that's not going to happen. They both look so different. And Inyalas are said to be one of the most aggressive when it comes to the males fighting. They really can kill each other if they put their horns into action. He obviously thinks he looks magnificent, and he does, but it's also entertaining. Sometimes it just looks like he's forgotten to put his pants on, and you can just see his long stockings underneath. I'll never forget doing a search and ID at night time with a thermo drone. And we found in Ghana, just in the drainage of Philemon's Dip, you could see it was a cat. I didn't know if it was a leopard or a lion. I will come back to that point in a little bit. We're just sitting watching the Inyala go about their morning. Beautiful coloration against that rich green of the grass. We're just gonna sit here for a moment or two and listen to the sounds of the morning. Isn't she just so beautiful? What a lovely little sighting.
So I was just losing hope actually, because we haven't managed to find the hyenas on Triple M. But we found the lion tracks, crossed out of the western boundary. And we thought, okay, so the lions have gone that way, the hyenas are going that way. They've crossed out. And lo and behold, we drive another 200 meters down the road to see what else we can find, with a new game plan in mind. And what do we find on the road but fresh lion tracks where they've been lying down, and currently they're just walking straight up the road. Well, technically straight down the road because we're going south. So this has renewed my fire. And it definitely looks like they've been moving sometime early this morning. So we've got a chance of finding them still, everybody. Triple M is representing this morning. Lots and lots of tracks. And it makes me very excited. Unfortunately, the hyenas, though, we don't know where they disappeared to. We missed them somewhere on the boundary. And we are still going straight down the road at this point. Can you see any tracks on that side, Gert? Still got them? No. Alright, I think they actually crossed back into Juma because I saw one of the tracks heading that way. Let's see. Oh, tracking is so much fun. I love it. Okay. So that is actually the exact track that I saw crossing. On the right-hand track, there's a little patch of disturbed soil and one of the tracks is angled. And then I saw another one angled a little bit. Yeah, that patch. Yeah, that's actually one of the patches. And then further down as well, angled towards the left, which is Juma, everybody. Maybe they've crossed into Juma again. Towards Impala Plains. So that's exactly where I'm going. And actually the link road is just ahead of me. So if they have crossed over here, I also just want to have a quick look. See if you can see any crossing out on that side, Gert. I'll have a look on the side. I want to see if there's any. Oh, you can actually see some of the grass is disturbed in patches here. They may have crossed over. Oh, that is so exciting. I can't see any tracks coming up this side, but I do see a bit of disturbed grass going that way. So I think they may have crossed over here towards Impala Plains, everybody. Oh, so exciting. This is what makes it worth it, when you think that you know what's happening and you can kind of predict what's going to happen. Like that, it changes. Oh, Ruby. Females are... Oh, I see tracks on the radio hat. Females are quite strong. So they certainly will lead a pride without the males, but that being said, they do need the males to reproduce. So what actually tends to happen, because the males move away from the pride so much, the females actually lead the pride for the entirety of the time that the males are away, then the males join occasionally. So yes, there certainly are more dominant females, and they certainly do lead the pride pretty much always until the males come back for feeding, for mating, and in that case the male takes over again. And then it changes. So it's actually quite a dynamic system. The tracks are still going on the road. Oh, I can see more there as well. It's quite a dynamic system, and the way that it works is whoever's the most dominant with the ones present will lead the pride. And most of the time it is actually a lioness. So we are representing girl power yet again. Only when the males come in will they take over dominance. Oh my goodness, these lions are they're just having the best time this morning. These tracks are so fresh, everybody. I feel like if I put my hand on it, I'll still feel the heat. That's how fresh they are. I'm so happy they moved off the road and came straight back on. I mean, you can clear. Oh, hello, lions! Yes! How is that, everybody? I could have felt the heat if I put my hand on it. Oh my word, hello lions. Best morning ever. I'm actually physically doing a little happy dance right now. Oh, hello. Okay, so everybody, this is exactly what happened. We spotted impalas that were looking in one direction, sat around for an extra 5 minutes, bang, hyenas. Follow the hyenas, they're on the trail, find the lion tracks. Follow the lion tracks, lose the lion tracks, find the hyenas again. Lose the lion tracks, find the lion tracks, and find the lions. What a roller coaster of a morning. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's get closer. I really could have felt the heat if I put my hand down. How exciting is that? I mean, clear tracks in front of me. Absolutely beautiful. What a morning. This is what makes the job so special. We used an impala to find lions this morning through a crazy chain of events. Hello, Dark Mane. You are closest to us. Good morning. I'll do it like that for you, Gert. We can't see his face right now, but he's on the Djuma side, so we can actually off-road if we really need to. Right now, I don't feel the need because they are pretty much on the road. And I do just want to call that in on the radio. Stations located on the Talamati Pride with Dark Mane, static on Triple M, just north of Impala Plains. Oh, big yawn. Good morning, boy. Good morning. So we do have... Oh, yeah, he's getting up. I was going to say we do have what looks like the 7 together. I haven't noticed the old lioness yet. Oh, you're looking a bit stiff this morning, boy. So what you can see is that he is already looking like he could eat again. Yes, definitely a lion roadblock. Absolutely, 200% a lion roadblock. And it looks like it's going to be an interesting morning. I just want to move a little bit so that this car can move around us. We've just got a civilian car that's moving. So we do just want to mind out the way because we're on a boundary. And in that case, oh, Dark Mane, I can smell you, boy. We'll just have a look at him from the side while we can. So you can see he's got quite a fresh wound on his cheek, and that was actually how I first identified him at the long distance view at the dam, with the mane and that wound on his cheek. Time to go to the bathroom. We are pulling some yoga poses today, everybody. Seems like everyone is nice and active. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Yeah, 7. It's still just the 7. So maybe the older lioness is where the hyenas are sniffing around. Maybe they can smell her still. You can see they've been walking through a bit of the rain. Look how wet he is. Oh, his nose is actually dripping. I don't know if you saw that. Some of the water's dripping off his nose. It certainly looks like everybody is so nice and relaxed this morning. Alright, so he's definitely looking like he could eat again. We were actually discussing it this morning, saying at the moment it looks as though they actually haven't eaten 2 buffaloes. That's how efficient the digestive systems are. But everybody's nice and relaxed in the road again. Didn't really mind too much about the car coming through. They just went straight back to sleep. Hello, boy. Right, he's actually walking towards the rest of the pride again. You are going to see the roof. Sorry, there's a bar there. Better safe than sorry, so we can spend time with them if it rains. So he's actually looking pretty good, everybody. Have a look at that. He's barely limping. And he's looking much better than expected. So this is great news. He's looking pretty good. Nice and healthy. You can see a few of his bones, but bear in mind he's north of 8 years old now. So it is the time when lions naturally start taking a bit of a dip. Their prime is anywhere from 5 years old to around 7, 8 years old. Lions spend their whole lives waiting for those 2 years of glory. Maximum 3 or 4 years. Oh, a little head rub with his son. So important for lions. Oh, big stretch. How lucky are we, everybody? This is epic. Being able to see him moving, seeing them all still active and having such fresh tracks. Absolutely mind-blowing. Oh, and he flops down in typical lion fashion. Okay, let me try and reposition a little bit. I'm actually on a slight slope because I'm now on the edge of the road, so I do want to help Gert out a bit and just get a little bit more flat. And then we'll see if we can see any clear views of the other lions as well. And I just want to double check on the radio. Maybe my radio is not working so well, that the other vehicles in the area have heard that we have actually got the lions here, so that they might want to come look for them, because we did have a vehicle in front of us that was actually tracking them. And they turned off following the tracks where they crossed the boundary. So I will just double check that using a handheld instead of my base station. Oh, you can actually see where one of the lions urinated in the road, that lighter patch. It's reflecting the light. Somebody went to the bathroom. Good morning, stations. Not sure if my radio is working, but we have located the Talamatis with dark mane on Triple M just north of Impala Plains. Alright, so I am keeping my radio volume up, everybody. If there is some noise, you know why, so that I can help some other people have an amazing sighting. For now, though, it seems like it might just be us. And you know what? I'm wearing my lucky shirt today. I think it's the shirt. I seem to find lots of animals through some very interesting methods when I'm wearing the lucky shirt. Okay, so we're going to spend a little bit of time here. Maybe if we're lucky, we might catch up with that other lioness as she's trying to find them again. Hopefully, we'll see what happens, and we might get a bit more movement. Right, so I think while we are sitting here, let's just take a few minutes to take in the information, have a look at each lion, and just have a listen as well, because the hyenas might be coming, the other lioness might be coming. Let's just appreciate a little bit of what we're sitting with and just take it in for a few minutes. So those hyenas were definitely on the trail of the lions. I find myself constantly looking backwards to see if the hyenas are crossing into the road anywhere on the scent. And this is also exactly why we say we like rainy days. It's cool and the animals are still moving. I'm so happy. A little bit of hard work paying off this morning and noticing the smaller things. Hello, boy. What a brilliant moment, being able to come over the ridge and see the lions all in the road. Definitely makes it worth it. Very lucky morning for us.
Is not to be had. I don't see any Kalamba tracks coming, but it could also be possible that she's gone hunting. She's got two very hungry little babas to feed. Let's hope it doesn't make a kill in Torchwood and takes him over there. I'm very against that, you know. These are the first cubs we've had on Juma in terms of leopards since Osana and Shongile. Oh, Mareebs, but Mareebs really didn't stay here for long. I mean, he was born in this sort of Inyala South drainage that we know of. That was the sort of natal area. And then not long after, she really took that litter over to Torchwood. I wonder if Kalamba was the reason behind that. So although he was born here, we did see him, not often. So it was really only Hosanna and Shongile that stayed in Juma and gave us all those wonderful sightings of them growing up. And I saw someone wrote yesterday that Swazi's the sort of hyena version of Hosanna. And I know what you mean. I absolutely know where you're going with that. Just this playful, curious creature that just provides endless amounts of entertainment. Young boyishness. And I know what you mean. Yes, they're two different species, but I get you. I feel you. And I feel the same. And I'm not going to check the hyena den again because we know where all that. Waiting for the Talamatis to kill it. And although I'm a little bit bitter we don't get to see Hosanna, he has done so well. He is huge, absolutely huge, just like his daddy. And he's thriving. He's absolutely thriving. Maybe one day, because territories constantly shift, they're never in a permanent state. Home ranges shift and there's always an overlap. Always. So when that overlap shifts, if it shifts east, we may one day in the future have a chance of seeing him again, live. But for now, it's way out of our reach. Kimberley, on Juma we don't see that many leopards anymore. We really sort of rely on Chitwa for that. It was fun when we were going up to Buffelshoek and we could really expand our sort of leopard viewing and Simbambili. But the oldest would have been Tingana out of the males, but naturally he's not been seen in a while, but it doesn't mean he's dead. It really doesn't. I'm very hesitant to say things like that. He is listed on, this is Buffelshoek Dam by the way, he is listed on Panthera's report as missing, presumed dead, but look at what happened to quarantine. I spoke about him in the morning and lo and behold he was spotted in the Kruger. Maybe I should just speak about Tingana. You all know how much I love Tingana. It's my favorite leopard ever. So I miss him terribly. I miss seeing the tracks and knowing exactly how to find him. I miss hearing him saw. I miss the last minute leopard aspect of Tingana. I can't even begin to tell you how many times we'd had a quiet drive, nothing. And at the very last minute, Tingana would appear. He was really our last minute leopard for many years. So Tingana, or in terms of the females that we see, would be Tandy. And naturally, Tandy has shifted east. So she spends most of her time now on Torchwood or Chitwa. And they were on vessels yesterday. So luckily, we're so lucky we can traverse Chitwa because it just opens up that space out of the north into the southern part, southeast, and it just gives us a lot more leopard view, and that's where we naturally see Kuchava, Sabui, Shasha, Langa, Semba. We see sort of a different range of leopards down that side. But Tandy, I would say, is the oldest. 15 now. Maria, I did touch on that, yes. They are still spending time together. Marib's is a mummy's boy for sure. And the average statistics for males to stay with their mom is 2 years. And if you think about it, he's a March baby. So were Ngwazi and Shimbulu. I'll never forget that, March 2020. So he is still hanging around with mom. But if you look at him, I mean, I think Davi and I had him on Chitwa just last week. He's huge. Those paws, my goodness, he's really filling out. He's really changing, and he's spending a lot more time away from mum. Now, he has been pushing south, and he has been found just on the southern boundary of Buffelshoek and even on Juma now. So I would say he's at that stage where he's really starting to explore. If you remember Hosanna, although his mum was no longer around, he was starting to move out of his little dam cam area. We started to find him in different spots. Then he started to be found all over Juma, and then eventually he really did start to explore. Disappeared, came back again, and then finally disappeared. So just like Tavangumi, Marib's is going to reach that stage where he has to explore. Right now he's in his father's territory, and although we don't know who that is yet, hopefully we will get answers soon, because Panthera now has Mowati's scat and Marib's scat. So even if it's not a match, we will know that way if Mowati is the father or not, a process of elimination. I personally think he is, but again, you shouldn't really speculate. So he is still with Tandy. They were together 2 days ago. But they're just south of Chitwa. We don't have Traverse there. But I am hoping we'll get an update. I'm going to now head to Chitwa. I haven't seen any signs of Kalamba, and see if we can get any updates on our dynamic duo. Tandy and Marib's were just, once they finally came out of Torchwood, they were just the most one. My dear, I think they need some coffee and FC, but I am going to send you guys over to Tessa and her lions.
Okay, so these are the lion tracks that were so fresh, and it's very clear why. We were just behind the pride, and it looks like some of these sub-adults have heard something. And these are the tracks the hyenas were probably following as well, and I'm wondering if the hyenas can smell them. And now you can see we're looking up to the left towards Impala Road on Juma. And I'm wondering if those hyenas took a shortcut and now they can smell where the lions are. I do keep looking behind me and I can't see anything coming on the road. But you never know, it has started drizzling again quite a lot now. And so the hyenas might be just taking a shortcut through the bush. Or maybe that old lioness, that would be an absolute treat. We haven't seen her in a while. What have you heard, girl? I would love to be able to know what's going through an animal's mind when it's staring like that. Because when you've got a very fixed stare, it's because you can hear, smell, or see something, or a combination of all three, or two of the three. And I'm sure she is definitely picking up on something at the moment. I'm just waiting for something to pop up out of the bush on the left. Cooper, I'm also very happy to see them so close to Juma and crossing in and out all the time. It is such a pleasure when we do get to see them hanging around the area for a little bit longer, because sometimes we go for 2 weeks without seeing them, without even seeing their tracks, if they've crossed over to the west. So it is such a relief when you do get to see them coming back towards Djuma. And because there's been quite a bit of buffalo activity in the area, I'm sure if they come across something, they would hunt again. They are all looking as though they have not eaten 2 buffalo calves in the last 4 days. And I'm hoping, because we have seen all of those buffalo tracks, that they are actually going to be moving in and out the next few days. That being said, being on a boundary road, the left-hand side is Djuma, the right-hand side is towards Simambili and Arathusa. Possibly they might actually cross out. So for now, we actually don't know. I'm just happy that they're on the boundary. But every time we get to spend time with them, as much as lions can sleep for 20 of a 24-hour day, you do always pick up on new things about each individual. You always spend time with them, and then you can actually pick up on small traits that you can use to identify each one, to learn a bit more about their characters, and to just, gain new information about the dynamics within the pride. Margie, they'd be lying on the road because it's a little bit drier than the grass. So at the moment it is drizzling, and that means the grass is holding a lot of water. So they're actually, big yawn, they're actually much more comfortable on the road than they would have been in the grass, getting much more wet. So this gives them the opportunity to just relax a little bit where it's slightly drier, and you can see she's using the opportunity to groom herself. With the drizzle that's coming in, it's giving them a nice light coat of water on their bodies, and they can use that to make sure they are nice and clean. Where are you going, girl? Have a look at that stomach, everybody. It does not look like she's eaten at all. So what they can hear at the moment, which I can see, is we have got another vehicle coming in. Because it's a boundary road, this is an access point to the gate, and so there are civilian vehicles that come through. And that's why her and the sub-adult male are up at the moment. She's actually still looking more left, though, towards Impala Road. The vehicle has found another route. Lucky for us, it's found another route, so the lions will stay nice and relaxed on the road. I am just waiting for something to pop up out of the bush on the left, so we'll keep you updated as to what happens and who else ends up joining this sighting, because I do feel like we're moments away from something joining, or it looks like maybe the lion's moving.
We're still driving through the overcast conditions. We're going to head to a dam soon and just sit for a while and see what happens there. But for now, we're just going to finally check our eastern cut line. Boundary patrol. It's always a good thing to do in the morning. Someone should always do boundary patrol. That's when you're going to see tracks moving. And the sky's clearing up, we're getting blue sky. And I am just going to pull up here. And the cameraman's going to give you some beautiful views, and you can actually see all along the cut line. And sometimes it's worth doing that. Sometimes it's worth actually getting your binos out or using the camera, because we have a really powerful zoom, and just checking the cut line. I found cheetah on this cut line once. I found 4 of them, and it is called cheetah cut line, so you can imagine I have never ever lived that down. We're just going to sit here for a moment and just observe what's going on around us. Isn't it so lovely? I've learned you should always just stop and listen.
So we've just started settling again. It looked as though a few of them were looking up and wanting to move, but the reason was actually that the sub-adult lioness, she got up and moved over and went to the bathroom, and now she's on her way back, and so a few of them were watching to see if she was going to move off completely. But she is back. She looks very nice and relaxed, and we do have another vehicle coming in behind us, so I might have to reposition a little bit, so that they can also get a view. Right, let me do that and move over. We've got a whole road to ourselves. There we go. Oh, they're coming around. There we go. Sky Rain, so that's actually the older lioness we were looking for on the boundary last night and that we had reports of. We do not see her here, but her tracks were coming towards this direction, so she might just be a little bit further away. We haven't seen her in a while, and I know this lioness, there's a little bit of confusion about what she's actually known by. Silver Eye, because we know purple eyes from the Kahumas, so there's a bit of confusion with her name. I know some people call her Silver Eye, some call her Purple Eye, some call her Blue Eye. So I generally tend to stick with Silver Eye. And we haven't seen her in a while, but her tracks were heading towards this area. So maybe she is somewhere in the block between our northern boundary and our western boundary, cutting a corner straight across. So she'll be trying to keep up with the pride because she'll be looking for scraps of food and the protection that the pride has to offer. Oh, they are looking so nice and relaxed this morning. I know you can't really see the rain, but it is actually wet at the moment. It is still raining. So I'm sure they're actually enjoying it quite a bit. You can see if they were uncomfortable with the weather, they would have moved to somewhere sheltered. They are more than happy to be out in the open, nice and relaxed on the road. And that lioness does still keep looking towards the left. I'm wondering if she can maybe hear either Silver Eye or maybe the hyenas, maybe a buffalo. We had a brief view of some elephant bulls that were crossing out, but maybe they were going towards the Marula section on quarantine. Maybe they changed direction, but you never know what they're actually hearing. So I do feel like possibly my radios aren't working. Aubrey, they will actually move more likely when the lionesses move rather than when Dark Mane moves. He's going to be a little bit more, if I can call it, lazy. That's what he's going to be. And he'll probably follow behind the rest of the pride. So when the older lionesses start moving, then the pride will move and he will follow. Normally it is the lionesses that decide when they move from spot to spot. I love how big these sub-adult males are getting. So the three males are these three closest to us, one lying on his side, one lying with his head up, and then Dark Mane, obviously just behind them. And then the four lionesses spread out a little bit. And they are much bigger in body size. And just a reminder that the Talamati Pride is part of the Genesis collection. So if you want to find out more, you can head over to the WildEarth website and look for the NFTs tab. You should be able to find them there. How special. So the lions definitely don't look too bothered by the fact that there are vehicles moving around us. Because we're on a boundary road and it's an access point from the gate, we do have the odd vehicle moving through and then leaving. But it's nice to see that nobody is disturbing the lions. Everybody knows the lions have right of way. And so they are looking nice and relaxed. I'm going to see if we can reposition a little bit, maybe get a view of Darkmane's face again. And in the meantime, we'll head over to Lauren with a very special friend.
Finally, my luck has turned this morning. There's nothing quite like seeing elephants on a really grey, drizzly day. They obviously relish it. We often think that animals don't enjoy bad weather. That's not the case. I would imagine thunder is possibly a little bit startling to a lot of organisms out here, but remember, they have their own phenomena. Their perceptions and their sensory world is so different from ours that we can't presume or assume that they don't enjoy rain or they don't enjoy specific weather types. You can watch elephants' behavior and they do get quite antsy in strong winds. But I am of the thinking that they relish the rain. We get asked a lot, how do animals cope with hot? How do animals cope with cold? How do animals cope with wind? And it's part of the annual cycle here. You have really, really dry, cold winters, and you have really, really hot, sometimes humid, moist summers, and then you get the really windy months of sort of August, September, and the animals are used to this from day one. And it's hard to actually say whether they like it or not. But I'm sure for the elephant's dry, cracked skin, and that's what it is, it's keratinized cracks, network of channels across their skin. Specialized adaptation for surviving in really hot, dry environments. And I'm sure they relish it. You absolutely do get ticks on elephants too, on the softer parts of their skin that's not so thick. So that's their ears, armpits, and around the genitalia. Santiago, oh, hello. That's a boy. I don't need to tell you that. He's showing you that he's a boy right now. That head shake was for us. But he's showing absolutely no other signs of not being happy. Sometimes boys just, well, they like to be boys, shall we say? Santiago, you're asking about their diet, really. And to be honest, it depends on the sex and the age of the elephant. So it goes without saying young elephants will definitely not need to eat as much as a huge bull. And they absolutely do consume 5% of their body weight in a day, that's for sure. But they're really poor at digesting. They're not good at it. Their digestive system is not so adequate at processing all the vegetation that the elephants consume. And it's said that they only digest about 40% of what they eat. So when we look at dung piles, I love looking at dung, you'll see that a lot of the vegetation is not being digested, and that's actually what they excrete. So it's said that they need around 170 kilograms per day of food. But that will also differ between the seasons. Like I just touched on, we have two very, very different seasons. So in the winter, depending on what type of winter you've had, our last winter was not that bad. It was still quite plentiful in terms of foliage and nutritious grasses. Not everything died. I've experienced winters here that were so barren, and the animals, they were struggling. But for elephants, naturally, if they're pulling up, they're bulk feeders, but if they're pulling up lots and lots of nutritious grasses, then it is going to differ seasonally. And it will, of course, differ across the board in the sexes and the size. But 170 kilograms of vegetation is a lot. But I mean, they do spend up to 75% of their day, which is about, 18 hours feeding. The rest will be drinking, pool parties, sleeping, and just generally moving. So because of that really poor digestive system, they have to compensate for that. And how to compensate for that? In two ways. Is bulk feeding, just pulling up as much as you can. Eat, 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 and eat. And the second is drink a lot of water. So a lot of water will just help that digestive process move along. We all need a little bit of lubrication in our digestive system now and again. But the older the elephant, the poorer the digestive system. It does drop from being about 40% to 30%. So as they get older, naturally, like us all, they don't become so efficient, even less efficient. And I'm pretty sure, Santiago, that bigger bulls have been recorded eating up to 450 kg of organic matter. But that's not the average, that's for sure. This is such a wonderful sighting that I think we're going to sit here and enjoy it a little while longer.
So we're trying to do a little bit of fancy footwork here, repositioning with our rain roof on so that you can see the lines a little bit clearer. And for now, everybody is looking very nice and sleepy, and they're causing quite a traffic jam. Quite a traffic jam at the moment. This is what happens when you decide to nap on a boundary road. And you can hear there are some other game viewers around us. And I've got another spider friend, everybody. A new spider friend. Alright, so the lionesses are looking fairly alert because there are vehicles moving around us. But I'm wondering if they're also still sniffing hyenas and things like that. I don't think the hyenas will be too far behind, but maybe the hyenas would focus more on Silver Eye. This is actually a very big lioness, this one closest to us. Very big lioness in body size. Straight back to sleep. So it looks like my radio is kind of half working. Sorry, you can see my hat in the frame. Let me bend over a bit more. So I think we're actually going to be here for quite a while. The lions will anyway. They're looking very relaxed. Oh, there's the spider in the frame. Did you see it? It's coming down to my hat, isn't it? Oh no. I'm sitting with the biggest predator that you find in Africa, and I'm nervous of a spider, everybody. What a morning it is.
The elephants are unfortunately moving off now. The views are not great, and they are heading east into Torchwood. Can you send Kalamba back our way, please, Elise? Oh, and let's go forward and see if we can get any other sort of view, but I doubt it. Ellie bum is still better than no bum. There's not any behind us, is there one? Yeah, I They've all gone into the thicket, I'm afraid. Oh, hello you. You're still around. Thank goodness. Lydia, no, they don't. It's not part of their lifestyle anymore. I'm not sure why they would go back to the herd. They're an older nomadic bull by this point. And generally speaking, when elephants get to a certain age, if there are no sort of diseases or illnesses or parasites causing problem, it's normally down to the fact that their teeth just wear down. That last set of molars, that's really not good for you, so people work with it, has worn down completely due to crunching and cracking on all the different vegetation. It has an impact on those molars, and once that last set number 6, wears down completely, they're not able to chew their food properly anymore, and that's normally when, wow, they can't feed. So generally speaking, these older elephants, you'll tend to find them, especially the bulls, spending a lot of time around water bodies. And that's because the vegetation there is normally the softest, so they can still sort of feed a little bit. And it's actually quite common for elephants to just pass away there and then around the water bodies. But bulls would not return to a herd when they're ready to die, I'm afraid. They will have a knowledge that they're getting weaker, and they will have a knowledge to go to water bodies to get that sort of really soft vegetation that they can maybe still slightly chew, but eventually even that's not going to become possible. But elephants naturally can die in other ways: disease, parasites, fighting with another bull. Let's not even go to the human aspect, but there can be other causes of death. But generally speaking, if none of that happens, then it is just old age, and it's just a wearing down of those molars. Ariana? Yes, they can. They absolutely can, and we see them do it a lot here against marula trees, especially when they're trying to reach those delicious marulas that they want to get their trunk on. We see them do that a lot, but they're obviously using the tree for support. I've never seen an elephant do that otherwise, unnaturally so, if they're not leaning against something. But of course we know that they can from circuses and awful things like that, which is not natural when you see elephants do that in a circus. But in the wild, not so much. They gotta have good balance, that's for sure. If they end up going up on their hind legs and lose balance, that's going to be a nasty, heavy fall. But they absolutely do it when they're trying to reach delicious leaves or yummy marula fruits. So I'm going to continue heading to Chitwa now that we're losing the Ellies, and you guys are going back over to Tessa.
So we've repositioned a little bit, so we've got a slightly better view of dark mane and one of these sub-adult males, and they look like they are really enjoying stretching out on the road this morning. I'm sure the ground is also holding a little bit of heat, so it's actually helping them through the rain. What you can see from this angle is the body size difference between the sub-adult male and dark mane himself. You can see that the sub-adult male is much more muscular, he's broader than dark mane is. And especially when you look at the lower half of the body, or the back half of the body, if you compare from his rib cage down to his tail and compare that to dark mane, you can start seeing some of dark mane's bones, his skeletal structure. So it just shows you how strong these sub-adult males are getting now. They're getting much, much, much bigger. What we've actually also noticed from sitting here is that the lioness that has lost the tip of her tail, she's actually got a wound on her neck. So there you can see the stumpy tail, and as Gert zooms in, you can see just on her neck, underneath her chin, there's a little dark streak, and that's actually coming from a very small puncture wound on her neck, and this is just a normal process for lions. When they're feeding, they do tend to get into a few fights with each other, and so a few of them have got some smaller wounds because of that. Oh, there you can actually see it a little bit better. A little bit of blood caked on her fur as she looked up. So you can imagine if they've been feeding on 2 carcasses recently, there's a lot of opportunity for them to step on each other's toes, if you can call it that. So with the competition over the food, they do tend to get very aggressive. It's one of the most aggressive you'll see a lion, or one of the most aggressive times that you'll see a lion is when they are feeding. It's as though they change from these excellent social bonds and so much love and care for each other to wanting to smack each other out of the way. And this is normal. They need to make sure they're getting enough food because it is survival of the fittest. As much as they love each other and they help each other, they also need to make sure that each one gets enough food. So this is where a lot of the smaller wounds come from. And in fact, we've been looking at a few of them, and they've all got the odd puncture wound here and there, especially towards the tail and the thighs. And actually the flies there, you can see some new ones. The flies are quite attracted to it. So she's got quite a fresh puncture wound on her leg, 2 of them in fact. You can see the flies are moving there, so she'll be flicking her tail every now and then. And actually on the bottom side of her tail as well, you'll see there she's got 2 more wounds. One more fresh than the other. So this is all from kind of just attacking each other a little bit when they are feeding. The rain roof is causing a bit of a problem seeing her face, but that's all right. We've got the rest of the pride to look at. But all of them are really looking in excellent condition if you consider what a life a lion lives. Jason, their skin is quite thick, and a lion's skin is also quite stretchy. It's got quite a lot of elastin. So if you were to squeeze, like squeezing on the back of a dog's neck, the skin is a bit loose, and that helps the mom carry them as cubs by the neck and all sorts of things. But it also means that it helps them in terms of getting wounds. Because the skin is stretchy, it doesn't tear so easily. That being said, if it's a severe wound, if it's a severe fight, the skin will not be able to hold. And so you will often find that lions will die from severe injuries because they will get infection. The skin is not thick enough that it will stop them from getting severely injured. These kinds of wounds are very basic flesh wounds, so it's nothing to worry about. They're not going to get infections from this. They're very good at cleaning them, and they heal up into a neat little scar very quickly. They've got a very strong immune system. When we're talking about severe wounds, we're looking more at massive open wounds in the back legs, injuries to the spine, and open wounds near the face and throat. So those would be the ones that you would want to be careful of. And unfortunately, not even a thick skin can help them with that, or an elastic skin. And certainly not something that the hair can help with. They're all basic barriers, but that doesn't mean that it's actually going to work if the fight is severe. You can actually see that lioness that's got the stumpy tail. Her paws are facing us very nicely. And as much as you can't see the claws right now, you can see the sheath where the claw would be hidden. And those, for a lion, are very strong weapons. They would rather use their paws than try and bite, because if you bite, your face is close to the other animal. You've got a chance of them attacking your face and your neck. And so this lion's paw, as much as she is a lioness, it's a very big paw, and if she smacks something hard with it and pulls out those claws out of those little sheaths, it's a very dangerous weapon. And so that's why lions would definitely prefer to be doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised if most of these puncture wounds are not necessarily bites, but rather smacking each other with those sharp claws. Gary Brown, usually no, it shouldn't lead to death. The fights that lead to death are normally territorial fights between males, if they're having dominance fights. But that being said, I suppose it could happen. It's not unheard of. It's just not very common. Normally the fights that happen while feeding, there is a bit of a dominance hierarchy, and it's just a reminder of who fits where. And it can look and sound very serious, but normally, once everybody is feeding in a spot, then it tends to die down a bit. So I personally haven't ever seen a fight over feeding that would have gotten or caused any serious injuries that were enough to kill a lion. It's much more of a noisy commotion. They smack each other, they might flick their tails, put their ears back, and display some dominant and aggressive behavior, but it usually isn't serious enough that it causes big wounds. The scariest fights that you will see are definitely between territorial males. There you can see that wound on her neck. Hello, girl. You are beautiful. She has actually got quite a lot of scars on her face already for a younger lioness. But I mean, that being said, she's also missing the tip of her tail, so she's had quite a few adventures in her life. But you can see it's not affecting her at all. She's surviving, she's managing to lick herself and move around, and she really is having a pretty easy time at the moment. Big stretch. Alright, we're going to spend just a few more minutes here just to see what happens. But then I think we will be moving off because it's a boundary road and there is quite a bit of traffic. We don't want to spend too much time here.
We're still on cheetah cut line. Lots of leopard tracks. Some are from Kalamba the other day with their cubbies. They still look remarkably fresh. This is exactly where Owen and I had her. And then there are some going the other way, north. But I don't think they are from last night or this morning. We did check that Daneside Road, like Gory Pan Road. But there was not a single track on that road, and I still do think she's using somewhere, I don't know which one. There's a huge drainage system. She could be at any point in that drainage system, especially if it rained last night. They probably moved a little bit higher. So we're not going to follow up on them. They're not fresh. But this is exactly where Owen and I had her, and you can still see the little cub tracks. They're not so little, like guys. These cubs are getting much older now. Tiani's cubs at 12 weeks. There was a message in the group. We obviously all communicate across properties and WhatsApp groups. And Tiani's cubs at 12 weeks were given the go-ahead to view without mum. And Kalamba's cubs are definitely older than that. They're getting really mobile. They just need to become a little bit more relaxed around the vehicles. That's it, starting to drizzle now. Drizzle. We're just wiping our lanes. Okay, we are going to continue down to Chitwa. I really want to see what's happening down that side.
So we have got a little grooming session happening here. And you can actually see how the rough tongue of this lioness is pulling the skin of the other one. Very sharp little barbs that are on a lion's tongue, and so good for grooming, trying to get through that thick layer of hair and clean out any parasites and dirt. But this is actually a very special bonding moment for these two as well. This is one of the best ways that lions can bond with each other socially within the pride. It's a combination of grooming and playing. And especially focusing around the face, you can see this line is very relaxed because it's getting a nice clean from one of the other lionesses. Oh, she's actually biting a few patches so she can feel something there. That's normally when there's a tick or something. And then they use their teeth to kind of bite at it to try and loosen it from the skin and then lick it out. Very sweet little moment between these two. So I am hoping that this means that the lions might start moving just now. Angie, I'm actually not sure. I honestly have no idea. I don't think I've ever been asked that before, but I actually have no idea. Oh wow, she has got beautiful light patches accentuated under her eyes. Going back to sleep, maybe this lioness will groom her now. Oh no, back to sleep, sorry. Slightly one-sided grooming session, but that's okay. Okay, now we're starting to relax again. We have got Dark Mane who has turned towards us. You will see the bar of the rain roof. And then we're going to turn a little bit. There we go. There is Dark Mane. He's turned towards us a bit so you can see he's still got a bit of a belly on him. And a lot of flies focusing their attention there. But he's actually been quite active in the last 2 or 3 minutes. He's just started moving around a bit more and repositioning. Chief Gordon, yes, I'm very surprised at how hungry these lions are looking again. It's not as though they are looking famished, but I can tell you that I'm very impressed by how small their stomachs are, considering it looked like they had all eaten 3 or 4 very highly inflated balloons yesterday morning. So in 24 hours, they have digested so much that they are looking as though they could eat again. And remember, opportunistic. So as much as Dark Mane might be very full, if there is a carcass, he will try and feed on it. It just makes sense. They don't know when the next meal is coming. His whiskers are actually quite short compared to a lot of the other lions. It shows a bit of his age for sure. But it is actually so good to see him close up and spend a bit of time with him, because we've been struggling for the last 5 days to even just identify which lion was with the pride. We had a sneaking suspicion it was Dark Mane, but it was quite tough just to get a view of him, and then we only really saw him from a distance, so it is really good to see him, especially out in the open. It actually looks like he's got a tick on his eyelid there, and quite a few of the small flies. I can imagine it must be quite frustrating. There you can see some of his scars. Actually almost looks like he might have a tick in his nostril as well. Shame. And quite a bit of sand on his mouth. And back to sleep. So I'm very surprised that we haven't had any movement from the hyenas or the silver-eyed lioness coming to follow, because we have been sitting still for quite a while now, and so you would think that they would have time to catch up. But for now it seems as though everybody's relaxing. Maybe it's a little bit too hot and too much movement for one day, and they're going to sleep for the rest of the day. I'm actually going to leave them now. I feel like they are going to be sleepy, and we can always come and check on them a little bit later. Let's head back over to Lauren on a bumble.
Got my jacket on now. I was trying to be brave and Scottish, but it didn't last very long. We are heading into Chitwa. I'm hoping that we're going to stay dry, and I think it'll just be nice to explore around this property. Really want to find out about Tandy and Mareebs and just see what we can find here. It's very small. It's easy to check in a 20 to 25 minute, 20 I would say, minute range sort of window. You can really do a good check of Chitwa. And if not, at least you've got the wonders of the dam. Massive breakup in comms there, I'm afraid. Let's try that one again. Chitwa's tricky for comms. I don't know why, it never used to be. Due to Sir 50, I really, sorry, when I say it's quiet, there are still vehicles driving. Oh, hello, sir. Excuse me. I'm sorry to disturb your nap. You're welcome to stay here. There's not a leopard behind that car, I promise. Sorry, no, Sir 50. Not within a space of a handful of weeks. No. What you've got to remember, we get asked this question a lot, is that the vehicles are obviously a very man-made thing, but to the animals that are born in this environment, you have to think about their daily life, their phenomena, their umwelt that I talk about all the time. And the vehicles are absolutely 100% part of that. Just like lambs and cubs and puppies see impala strolling by, and they see hippos in the dam, and they see giraffes in the distance, they see vehicles. And that's what the whole habituation process is all about here. It's just part of their everyday life, whether that's right or whether that's wrong, or it's a very human aspect to us, but to them, it's the impalas see us drive past quarantine 10 times a day, including lots of different vehicles, not just my own. It's just very much part of their normal day life. And I mean, it's only been a week or two since the vehicles on Juma stopped driving, but there are still vehicles driving. There are still landowners. There are still people that own that land that will move around. So no, absolutely no changes in the animals' behavior. It's just struggle to find animals because of summer. It's incredibly thick right now, and because that sort of method of tackling the reserve, someone takes the north, someone takes the south, someone takes the east, someone takes the west. It just covers more ground, more communication. I've got tracks here, I've got tracks here. I saw Kalamba last night. That's gone. That's why we're struggling to find animals. But in terms of animal behavior, no, absolutely. They're just going about their daily life, their daily summer life. Even Kalamba's cubs, they were cautious when I was with them, and I know they have seen a few vehicles. I've seen, I think Rexon was with them. I think Tessa maybe spent a drive with them. But they're getting used to vehicles already. Mom's ensuring that she doesn't change her behavior around the vehicles, and they just copy Mom. And already the vehicles are just part of everyday experience. Now, it was on a very day like this, overcast, grey skies, but it was 10 times worse because it was windy. And Impo and I were on this very, very spot on the dam wall, complaining about the weather, of course. What else do you do? And that's when we saw a hippo at the water. And it really caught my attention in my sort of periphery. And I thought, this is strange. And I made a note to myself that I have to be careful. There's a hippo at the water. It just doesn't feel right. Something's up. Then the hippo, she ended up just going slightly down the dam wall. And I thought, I'm going to check what's going on, because I don't know, something's not sitting right with me. And of course, lo and behold, she gave birth. I will never forget that sighting, because I was complaining so much about the weather. But at least today it's not windy. But I hate coming into Chitwan just driving over the dam wall. You shouldn't. You should at least stop and appreciate. Valentina. Not really, no. So it's not sweat. Hippos actually do secrete a substance. It's called hipposudoric acid. And it's made up of different compounds, actually. It's not just one compound. It's released from the mucus glands on the skin. Not quite sweat glands. And when it comes out, when it's secreted, it's actually completely colorless. But it polymerizes, and then it ends up turning red, a deep red color, which I guess looks pinkish in some parts, depending on the quantity. And it's a really awesome substance that has been the focus of a lot of studies, because what it does do is act as a sunscreen. And I think we all know in today's day and age, to avoid those wrinkles and all sorts of dangers to the human skin, we apply sunscreen. To hippos, they actually have a really fine epidermis. So they've got a really thick sort of body, and on the surface they do have a layer of fat to insulate them, but they're mostly muscular. And that layer of skin, the epidermis, is actually really thin. You wouldn't think so, but it is. It's not like an elephant's. And it renders them quite sensitive, up to 7 times more sensitive than other mammals. And that's one of many reasons that they spend most of the day in the water. And that's the other reason that they sort of produce their own sunscreen, which, when you think of it, is actually really impressive. Imagine if we could just sort of secrete our own sunscreen, and it's pinkish and we just look fabulous all day, but obviously that's not going to happen. And it's not only protecting them from the UV rays, really, it also has antibiotic properties. So hippos fight a lot, and they're really terrible at it. So you will often find hippos with all sorts of injuries all across their body. And this substance, this viscous, oily red fluid that we see, is actually also protecting them from all sorts of bacteria. It inhibits the growth of 2 types of bacteria, pathogenic bacteria that we know of to date. And it keeps them nice and healthy. So in answer to your question, they do secrete a pink substance, but it's not sweat. We're going to sit here a little bit longer.
Alright, so I have left the Talamati Pride. I'm now slowly bumbling along the southern boundary called Gowrie, Maine. And what I want to do is kind of slowly zigzag from here towards Impala Road, just check if we can maybe find if Silver Eye is somewhere in that block between the 2 boundaries. I think it's a good idea to just have a little look, because none of us have actually done that road this morning. I would also be very interested to see if we can pick up on where those hyenas went, where the tracks have gone, because we missed them altogether on the way out. So I'm doing a little bit of a zigzag. Luckily the rain seems to have stopped a bit. We don't have any drizzle where we are at the moment. So maybe it was just that patch where we were with the lions and a little bit further northwest. So that does help us, because it does mean animals are going to be out and about. I can hear dwarf mongooses somewhere. There's quite a bank of clouds coming in. I think we're going to have rain throughout the day today. Unusual. Very unusual. Normally we have these late afternoon thunderstorms. Definitely not these very consistent rainy days. So I can tell the buffalo have been here as well. So I think this is what the lions are just following at a distance. The movements of the buffalo herd. And what I'm looking for is pretty much just any fresh tracks at this point. Any fresh tracks, any movements, any impalas staring. Use them again. Just see what else we can find. I'd actually love to see some buffaloes this morning if we can find some. There's some hyena tracks, but from before the rain. Ah, there's some from this morning coming up. Maybe the clan is reconvening somewhere.
We're just checking Chitwa. I have a funny feeling no one is driving. They're either feeling like it's too rainy or they have no guests. So I just want to check the open area at the back where we've been finding mareebs a lot lately and see if they have crossed over. It's worth a check, otherwise we'll never know. I've actually grown really fond of this open area at the back. It's called Mike's Kitchen. Don't ask, because I don't know. I would say out of all the properties we have still traverse, Chitwa's probably where I've had some of my best sightings. Top 10 stuff. James Richard, I knew it. You're hoping to see wild dogs. Perfect weather. Absolutely, it's perfect weather for a lot of animals, maybe just not me. We got really lucky with that Hamilton's pack. I was a bit bummed I didn't get to see them, but I obviously knew that Rowan, he had a tough stint here. He had a tough stint with car issues and whatnot. I know he really wanted to spend time with them, but the last time I think I had that Hamilton's pack, I could be wrong, but as far as I remember, it was with Darby and it was actually on Chitwa, and it's when they were attempting to take down a water buck, and I think at that time there was about 24 of them, and it was just an unbelievable number of dogs to see like that, and to see them all start to get ready to take down a male water buck. Now they didn't, the male water buck stood his ground and they didn't anymore, but I'm pretty sure that was the last time I saw the Hamilton's pack. I could be wrong. But yes, you're right, James Richard. I absolutely will search Chitwa airstrip. The wild dogs love the airstrip. Maybe they're hoping if they run fast enough, the ears are just going to take them into the air. You never know. So this is as sort of far south on Chitwa that we can traverse, really. You can actually go a bit more west, but that's why I'm checking here, check up all the trees. Tandy cats and mareebs. I'm intrigued to know which way mareebs will go. A lot of leopards go south, but the south is rather congested. Roland, good question. All over. They're vagabonds. They're not territorial. So you're not going to find them in a specific sort of, we know the territories, I would say, of most of the leopards in our area. Lions. We know the hyenas, of course. But when it comes to wild dogs, really, they're such mobile animals. They can cover great distances. It's unbelievable. Sometimes we don't see, we go through periods with dogs, what I find here. European. Hello, Mr. European Roller. And sometimes we go through weeks on end, if not months, without seeing dogs, actually. The Pungwe pack were a real treat for us. Obviously, they are collared, but we don't necessarily get those pings. The pings come every 12 hours as well. And when they had their puppies and they came onto Juma, we had them round for every single day we had the dogs. Every single day we knew where they were. But they can travel, they can go all over. They can go north into the Mangaleti, they can go east into the Kruger, they can keep going west. They really cover great distances and therefore they're not so easy to keep track of. But this stint, I haven't actually seen dogs. Sometimes I feel I prefer the European coloration. I like greens and blues. And then now I feel bad, I do love the lilac breasted too. It's just they're around all year. These guys are not. And you won't hear that horrendously ugly call that the lilac breasted has. These guys are mostly silent. Freddie, that is a complicated question. It looks that way because the lilac breasted, the colors are very bold and contrasting. I mean, you've got the likes of that brown against that gorgeous lilac and then the pinks and the greens. So it does appear that way, but if you look at the European, there's different shades of greens and blue. It goes from like a dusty sky blue to deep turquoise. You've got that chestnut shoulder, a little bit of cream in the head, light brown. So I don't know if it has less colours, but it definitely isn't as sort of prominent and vibrant, shall we say, as a lilac breasted roller. I don't know, I'm drawn to the European colours more. It's like my favourite colour scheme mapped out on a bird. They're always a winner to see. In flight, it's difficult to pick out if it's the lilac or the European. Megan Edwards, you're seeing beautiful colours, even in the dim lighting. We are getting blue sky. It's patchy, but it's coming. But yes, I know what you mean. In the glory of the sun, they sparkle just a little bit more. Like Edward Cullen. But it is beautiful coloration. Rollers are actually really big birds. They're bigger than you think, I always say. We went to Madikwe, we did a bit of birding and people kept saying, this is this. I'm saying, no, it's a roller, I'm telling you, look at the size. But the lilac breasted is such a contrast for me because they're so beautiful, but my goodness, that call. Laura Cam, this is your first European you've seen in ages. My goodness. Owen and I actually put one on screen the other day, didn't we, Owen? But that was my first one of the season. So yeah, this is technically only my second or third. It was either last summer, the summer when James was definitely here and Tristan, and they arrived really late. We didn't get the Carmine Beaters that year either. I think it was 2 years ago. So their movements, their migration patterns are affected, seasonally affected by all sorts of things, and they arrived really late, so it's good to know they're back in town and they're around. And I'm just going to keep bumbling. I do want to check. There are 3 roads I want to check. signs of Tandy and Mareebs. And then at least we know, get an update on this afternoon. Hopefully more people will be driving. And hopefully that sun will burst out and sparkle us all. Imagine dating a boy who sparkled in the sun. Anyway, we are going to keep bumbling around Chitwa and see what else we can find. Going to pull up on Chitwa airstrip, and we're going to use that slightly open area to scratch around. It's a bit of a vantage point for all involved. You can see the water bucks. Wow, look at this steep hill. My goodness. You can see the water buck are already tossing away. But when we stop to give you views, it'll also give me a chance to just check the ground. So I'm going to park right in the middle and see if we can see anything happening in either direction. A bit of a roadblock ahead anyway. Isn't it so lovely? We're going to keep heading north and see what we can find.
So I am bumbling towards Treehouse Dam. I want to go and have a look if there is any activity around there and just check for any fresh tracks or anything that might have come down to the dam this morning after the rain. We haven't seen any more tracks of the silver-eyed lioness, but I think she's probably lying somewhere in between the two boundaries following the scent of the pride. Pretty much the only fresh tracks that we've got in this area is hyenas, and that's actually quite expected. We know this area quite well. It's called Taxon's Road, and this is where there have been den sites in the past for the hyenas. I think we were very, very lucky to find the Talamati Pride this morning and then be able to spend quite a bit of time with them and catch up with them, have a decent look, and they're actually all looking really good. So hopefully from the boundary they don't decide to go too far. Maybe they'll cross into Juma again. We did find some buffalo tracks again this morning on our way towards the dam actually, so it seems like the buffalo are moving through consistently, which makes me hopeful that the lions will stick around for a bit longer as well. I'm actually just about to arrive at the dam. Wonder what we're going to find. I wonder if the resident hippo is still here. Or if he's moved again back towards Twin Dams. impala tracks. I think there's some impalas here. Oh, there they are. Mackenzie, the reason the grass doesn't grow on the roads is a combination of two things. The first is that we drive on the roads fairly often. So when we're driving on the roads, what it means is that we are compacting the soil, but also anything that's new growth won't be able to grow on the track because the tires are constantly going over it. What it also means is because historically the roads have been here for quite a while, the soil compacts so much that it can't hold enough air and moisture in it. And so what tends to happen then is it can't support much plant life. So if there are roads that are not used as often, or even link roads between two roads, you'll find that those will grow back. And then if they start being driven again, the vegetation will cut back. But the main roads on the whole property, because they've been driven for so long, the soil is compacted and quite hard. So there's not much opportunity for the plants to grow and break through with their roots. There are the impalas that I saw the tracks of. It does seem like maybe this bachelor herd has split a little bit. There used to be around 9 or 10 that would stay in this area around Treehouse Dam. But yesterday and today I've only seen 3. So I'm wondering if maybe something chased them and they split up a little bit. Or maybe that herd has moved off and this is just a new little bachelor herd that's coming in. I haven't seen any movement yet from in the water, so I don't know if the hippo's here, but he can hold his breath for quite a while, so maybe we'll see the movement just now. I think I did see a glimpse of the blacksmith lapwings at some point too, but they seem to be hiding. So we're right on the edge of the dam at the moment, and we're just having a look to see if there are any other fresh tracks. Momo, the black spots at the bottom of an impala's legs are a little bit of a follow me sign. So when they're moving at speed, you can see there's black stripes on the back of the rump and down the tail. There's the black spots behind the legs, and then white underneath the tail. So when they're moving at speed, and they're trying to run away from predators, because that is the main defense mechanism, they'll be able to follow each other very easily through the dry grass, which they're a very similar color to, just by following the movement of those darker areas on the body and the light strip underneath the tail. At the same time, they can also use that to scent mark, especially the males. So if they do want to, they rub their faces against the brush, but they can also scent mark using that little patch. It can smell a little bit different. Main purpose though would be to follow each other. It's actually just started raining again, so maybe that's why that impala lay down. I can now see the surface of the dam has got all the little drops reflecting on it, and I think the impalas are going to try and stay in the open as much as possible. You can just see the surface is moving. So you can imagine on a day like today, when the predators are more active and it is drizzling, all of the herbivores are going to try and stick to open areas as much as possible. So places next to the dams like this, all of the clearings, impala plains, those kinds of areas, and of course quarantine, because that is where it is the most open and where they can see the furthest. You probably found though these ones have been chased off of quarantine by the dominant males there. I can actually see, it looks like a green-backed heron. Yes, it is. Running along and hunting. It's not often we see a green-backed heron here. So normally the green-backed herons are at Vuyatela Dam or Gowrie Dam and Chitwa Dam. So it's really nice to see one here at Treehouse Dam. And I'm wondering if it's gonna maybe use that log to do some hunting. Oh, it is stalking so slowly towards the water's edge. It's running so fast along the bank. Definitely busy hunting at the moment. You can see how flat it is and it's moving very deliberately. I wonder if we're going to see a kill. You can actually see its reflection a bit. It's sitting so still. I think it's seen some movement. And it might suddenly strike out with that beak. Oh, wow. So it will be looking for aquatic invertebrates, aquatic insects, tadpoles, small fish, anything that it could eat along the banks of the dam. Looks like it's having quite a good morning actually, in terms of hunting. You can see quite a bit of movement on the surface. Gary, they certainly do have a lot of patience, I think a lot more than some of the other animals. But it's actually a very similar strategy to lions and leopards as well. A lot of patience, a lot of time and effort spent towards stalking to the perfect position. But herons are always so wonderful to watch because it looks like an art form when they're moving and hunting. Amazing. It's such good eyesight that this bird has, that as it kind of noticed a little bit of movement behind it, it managed to still get something at speed. We're definitely seeing all of the predator action this morning, it seems. So you'd imagine there would be insects and tadpoles and things congregating around that elephant dung, because a little bit of substrate, a little bit of protection in the water is very important. So this heron is actually being very strategic by approaching the little grasses and things in the water, but also the elephant dung, because it knows that smaller animals within the water are going to be sheltering close to that. So this used to be known as the striated heron. Now it is the green-backed heron. And it certainly looks like it's having quite an active morning. But I'm going to move a little bit forward, see if we can reposition and look for any tracks around here. And we'll send you over to Lauren in the meantime, who's got a little friend in a tree.
I can't believe my luck. One of my favorites, but I have a lot of favorites. I'm very bad that way, I know. We do have a martial eagle up here. I think it's a martial. And you know what? When you see a big raptor in the sky, it looks big anywhere. You notice it straight away. Oh, big bird. The cameraman will say, oh, big bird, big bird, big bird. But when you see these guys, yo, they're big. Incredibly mean looking faces, but actually unbelievable. Oh, look at that. You see the feathers sitting up on top of the head. That's a dead giveaway. And actually incredible birds. And I think my love for these birds really grew working in a Masai Mara. As many of you know, we worked on that Mara Raptor project, and it was just, you really got deep into the birds. You got to know them, and of course you got to understand their monogamous relationships. And this is an immature one. It's not fully grown, it's not an adult, but it's still huge. and the power is just incredible. So you'll often find the monogamous pairs sort of work together. And in the Mara, they've all got lovely little names like Olive and Stone. I mean, they've all got couple names. And I know I've shared this story so many times, but it just, when I see a Marshall, I just reminisce of those times. I miss it. I miss the Mara so deeply. And I miss the North Clan. But I also miss being involved in that project because it's makes this job so much more rewarding and holistic when you're part of a project that you can really invest in. And we used to get pings on our phone. Our signal was really good in Amara. It's actually better than it is here now in Juma. And you get a ping and immediately you know a marshal's made a kill. Go! And we used to put our foot down and it was so exciting because you were wondering what pair is it that's made the kill? What have they killed and what are you really going to find? And very often we would go to the site and you would just find a carcass. And that's exciting. And you get a ping on your phone and you go. And it's very special tags that they have that can identify the different behavior of the bird. So when it's sitting on a tree like this, the tag can identify that it's sort of vertical and it's not moving, so it's obviously sitting in a tree. Then it can identify when it's just soaring. Then it can identify when it goes into full hunt mode, and then when it goes from that really high speed flight to the ground and stays on the ground for a while, it can sort of pick up that there's been a kill. And I remember one time we went and there was an impala ram. Killed an impala. It was a younger ram, but still. And they were sitting on the carcass. Both individuals of the monogamous pair where they are. And it was just amazing getting sent on this sort of high-speed chase. And then you report back. So you say, this is what's happened. This is what you found. I absolutely adored that. And it really gave me a newfound appreciation for these birds. But they are quite mean-looking. And because it's not a fully grown, it's not an adult, you can see that it's not got that really dark brown head contrasting against the white chest. Similar, not unlike the black Jessie snake eagle. It's still got that immature sort of look about it. The head's still quite white. Okay, I'm very happy with my Marshall sighting, so we're just going to sit here a little bit longer. We're just sitting admiring one of my favorite raptors, one of my favorite birds actually. So majestically positioned at the top of this tree, scanning for its next meal. But all the other birds are chirping around him. So we're just going to sit here for a moment and listen to all the sounds of the bush. have to say this has definitely been my most favourite sighting of the morning so far.
So we have still got a very active green-backed heron, and it seems to be using the log now as a hunting ground. And this makes a lot of sense because a lot of animals will also congregate in that little gap where you can see the log comes out of the water and goes back in. It creates a lot of shade, and a lot of them will use that shade to their advantage. A lot of these little animals that it's busy hunting. All of the aquatic creatures. Looks like it's struggling to swallow something, maybe. But you can really see the colors nicely at the moment. That cap that's very, very dark. It's actually almost like an emerald green in sunlight, a very dark green going down. Oh, moving very swiftly. Moving along the bank. Still hunting. Very pretty colors in this light because now we've got a little bit of sun breaking through the clouds. Aiden, with herons, it's actually very difficult to tell the difference between male and female. They are so similar looking. It's not like a lot of the other species where there's a clear difference in coloration between male and female. And mostly you'd actually have to see them, I love how it's stalking, see them next to each other when it's a breeding pair, and then you can maybe tell a slight size difference. Normally the females are slightly bigger than the males, but it's so tough to tell the difference. Their feather markings are exactly the same. Oh my goodness, this stalking is unreal. Look how slowly it's moving that leg. Poised and ready to strike. You might be able to hear my stomach, I apologize. You can actually almost see a perfect reflection of the heron at this point, but you can see there's quite a lot of surface activity. And that's from things under the water coming up, but also from a little bit of breeze and the odd drop of rain. And these are all things that the heron can actually use to its advantage. When the surface of the water is not as smooth, they'll struggle to tell where the predator's coming from. Also, they will mostly eat aquatic invertebrates, small fish and small amphibians, so frogs and tadpoles. I've never seen a green-backed heron or striated heron eating things like grasshoppers, so they're normally just along the banks of the water looking for aquatic things to eat. There might have been the odd record, maybe here and there, of one eating insects, and that would probably be because of a lack of food. For example, in the dry season, when you have maybe less water, you would find that they would struggle a little bit more to find food. But it's actually recorded that they eat aquatic animals. There's no record on the official apps or in the bird books or anything like that of them eating terrestrial invertebrates and animals. I'm sure it must happen here and there. It's survival of the fittest, and you've got to make a plan sometimes. But I've only ever seen them hunting on the edges of waterholes and rivers. I've actually never seen a young green-backed heron. I've only ever seen adults. So I would love to one day be able to say I've seen a young one. because they are actually here year-round. It's not as though they're a migratory species. So it's not even as though they don't nest here. Once they've found a spot, they will stay there. So I don't know why I've never seen a young green-backed heron, but I can't say I've ever seen a juvenile. Very similar to Lauren when she was chatting about the young thickneys, her first thickney chick at Gowrie Dam the other day. I've also never seen a thickney chick. I've seen lapwing chicks, and I've seen juvenile fish eagles and things like that, but I've never seen most of the wading species. I've never seen their chicks. They're so well camouflaged usually as well to blend in with the ground. Oh, we've got... Did you see that water streak? There was so much surface tension there as that little fish swam away. This is actually quite a tense moment. I feel like at any moment we're going to see a kill. Jasmine, they do have exceptional eyesight. They are able to see through the murky water, and they're actually looking for little flits of movement. Also, bear in mind that some of the aquatic species have a bit of a silver sheen to them in certain light, so they'll be able to see that reflection through the water. And they can also see the shadows under the water, and that's what they'll use to hunt. But it is so impressive because the rest of the body is always so still. And it's just the head that moves. Very different technique to the blacksmith lapwings. They tend to just walk along the edge and constantly stick their heads in and pick up little things, where this is actively hunting and stalking up to different animals under the water. The wind is just catching a little bit of the crest that comes down from the cap there. You can see it blowing up, part of the green back. Oh, wow. I was hoping we'd see it catch a fish that we could actually see what it was getting, because I think all the other kills this morning have been small things that we haven't actually been able to say, that's a fish. And now finally, that was a really good catch of a fish. Now it's happy it's had a bigger meal. It can move off a little bit, change its position. Much bigger kill than the rest of its kills for the morning. Or that we've seen anyway. Slowly stalking up to the edge of the water again. Very slow approach. The element of surprise and camouflage. Now if you think about it, the success of something like a heron compared to the predators that we are used to focusing on, so the things like leopards, hyenas, and lions, the success rate of a heron is actually very high if you compare it. And I think it's got a lot to do with size, speed, and agility. The bigger you are, the more difficult it is to hunt, because it's more difficult to hide and you can't move as quickly. So something like a green-backed heron is the perfect sized little predator to be catching as much as possible during the day. When it sits still, it's actually quite tough to see. So with the naked eye at the moment, I am actually struggling to see where this heron is. So I'm very impressed that Gert is managing to follow it quite smoothly with the camera this morning. In fact, the only reason we spotted it was because it was moving between two patches of vegetation along the bank, and we noticed the movement. I wonder what this heron is going to do next. I think it's actually going to stick around in these vegetation patches for a while, using the cover and hoping for some more nice kills up here. So we're going to stick around for a few more minutes and just see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky with another kill. So while we are sitting here and watching this heron go about its hunting, I want to just take a little bit of time just to listen in case we can hear any elephants or anything coming down, but also just to appreciate the amount of different bird calls we're hearing at the moment. There are so many and they're calling so close to the dam. Let's have a listen. We've still got our impalas relaxing nicely on the bank, and actually some oxpeckers on them as well. Definitely a birding day today. Blacksmith lapping in the background and oxpeckers flitting between impalas. You can hear some more red-billed buffalo weavers again. They've been quite scarce the last few days. Definitely a birding day, it seems. I feel like the longer we sit here, the louder it's getting. Interestingly enough, it's quite tough to pinpoint the birds and where they are. We can hear them, but we can't really see them at this point, other than the oxpeckers and the aquatic waders. Interesting though. Seems like now that the weather's clearing a little bit, the birds are waking up again for the morning.
Lots of blue sky. It's wonderful. Didn't need our rain roofs after all. And it just shows you there was a torrential downpour, I believe, in Pridelands, and we're not that far away, not really, but we got nothing. And we are going to head back in just towards a sort of quarantine area and see if I can pick up on anything else. It's been a good day for birding for me this morning. I have to say, I've done well on the raptor front. I remember when I first arrived here, raptors scared me. Really, not in terms of I was scared of them, I was scared of identifying them, but you have to just throw yourself into it and look closely. Some species can be confusing, absolutely. But have those features, have it all marked out exactly how you want to identify them. I'm hoping this rain roof off this afternoon. I don't know what kind of day we're actually in store for today. Just want to check something. Probably nothing. This road's a bit of a dip, but as soon as we're at the pan, this road is absolutely fine. I thought I saw one of those praying mantises, those big, bulbous, bright green ones. That's the next insect that I'm on the look for. Got my golden orb. I think it was a bandied golden orb yesterday. I was over the moon. Okay, it wasn't a huge one, but that's fine. And I'm looking for those massive green praying mantises. I've not seen too many of them here, and I was very jealous of Tristan when he got that sighting over the hunting. I don't get jealous of other people's sightings, but that was one of them. I remember thinking, Tristan's so lucky. So that's the next insect that I'm looking for. If any of you do have insects that you know we get here in summer that you want to see and we haven't seen yet, please let me know. I managed to get my flower mantis, flower crab spider, golden orb yesterday. What else? I still don't feel we've reached that sort of climax. I still don't feel we've got that full swing insect boom that we get here. There's definitely insects around, absolutely, but not that chaotic, constant buzz of the insects. Not really. We're finding them, but the abundance and the diversity actually is not there yet. Even with the butterfly species. Dragonflies are getting there. I'll get one to land on my hand before I leave. Somehow. Dragonfly whisperer. Andrea M, you're saying like me, actually. I used to be so scared of spiders, arachnophobia. And thanks to WildEarth, now you love them. That's great. I'm the exact same. Some of you will remember my journey with WildEarth. Some of you not, that's okay, but when I first arrived I was terrified, and I had Brent Leo Smith trying to put spiders in my room. That was his solution to my arachnophobia. I do not think that is a good solution at all, but that was his idea. We had all sorts of Herbie trying to get me to wrap myself in spiders' webs, and I really didn't think I would ever get over it, and it's completely irrational. I don't have a reason for being scared of spiders, and in the UK we do get big spiders, big huge house spiders. I mean, they're not as terrifying as some of the spiders we get here, but they do get large. And it was honestly through forcing myself to learn about them. When you actually learn about them, you think, wow, they're actually really cool. And jumping spiders are a good start, especially when they're wearing water droplet hats. And orb spiders, because they're so colorful and magnetic, and when you really learn about them, you think, wow, the sacrifice that some of these spiders go to reproduce and continue their bloodline is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. And after that, I started to think, these animals are really cool. And I have to say, I still don't want one in my bedroom as I sleep, apart from my little wolfies. I've got my wolfies in my bathroom. I don't want one of the big rain spiders sitting above me as I go to sleep. But other than that, I've managed. So I'm so happy to hear that, Andrea M. We do. We are able to dive into all sorts of organisms, Umwelt here, big and small. We try to make our drives as diverse as possible. Some days you win, some days you lose. It was a little slow this morning for me, but I got my Marshall and my black chested snake eagle. What more do I want? But insects, the more I learn about them, and it really is from that book that I keep telling you about, Extraordinary Insects. And it's a novel, it's not like a big textbook. It is amazing. And that is what really got me hooked on insects. Ah, the sunshine! I feel like I need to take my jacket off now. Hello, sunshine. Well, at least we know where the hyenas are. And it's good to see June part of the mix. Michael, you updated me. Thank you so much. So Hart was there, the usual suspects, Swazi, Ndebele, Kaikau, he's been hanging around the den, and June's now with the gang. It's wonderful. They are all a big gang at the end of the day. There's just a hierarchy amongst them. Now I just need to find Sutu. Where is Sutu and where is Nchima? Got a little bit of time left. I'm hoping to find them. Okay, we're going to slowly make our way to quarantine, center of the reserve. You never know what we might be missing up there. I'm just going to share the views of these marulas here, because you've got blue sky with the contrasting heavy dark clouds. It's beautiful, but it's confusing. And we are coming to the end of our bumbo, so we're just going to sit and just admire the views for a moment or two. Isn't it wonderful? The birds are starting to sing as the sun is coming out. Thank goodness.
So it seems like Gert and I, when we work together, seem to have luck with baby birds, particularly ground birds, and I'm hoping they're about to turn around and come back. But we've just seen a guinea fowl family with very small chicks, but it looks like they might be headed into the grass. So last time it was a Franklin family with very tiny chicks. We saw another Franklin family this morning, again with tiny chicks, but they disappeared so fast. And now a little family of guinea fowls with tiny chicks, about the same size as the Franklin chicks, so quite unusual. I'm trying to look for them. Oh, this grass is so long I can just see a glimpse of the adults. I don't know if we will get the babies, but we have definitely got the adults walking through the grass. These are the helmeted guinea fowls. Oh, there's, you can just see a few glimpses through the grass. There, you can just see movement. Oh my goodness. They are headed towards the main road up Quarantine, so maybe we'll find them on the other side, but how sweet. Little guinea fowl chicks. You can imagine being a ground bird. It is quite difficult for them because they are very prone to predation from things like servals, caracals, even leopards. Anything small. Hello, impalas. And now we've got a bit of a break. We've got a bit of sunlight, break in the clouds, but we have actually got quite a large cloud bank building, and I'm wondering if we're going to get a storm later. Oh, there's a slightly open area. I wonder if they'll come out here. Where did you go, guinea fowls? Oh, I don't know if we'll get them. No, they're turning around again. No. They are feeling very vulnerable at the moment. They've got tiny chicks and I don't want to push them. So I'd rather leave them to carry on in the grass. But they were really, honestly, a few centimeters tall. Very cute. We have very good luck with baby birds, everybody. Very good luck. And apparently with trapping lions using other animals too. So we do have a herd of impala up on quarantine. It does seem like they're going to be settling here for the day with the weather being a bit strange. I think they're just going to be trying to find as much open area as they can to keep themselves safe. I can see quite a large bachelor herd in front of me as well, so maybe we can have a look at some of those since they're out in the open. Quite tough when the grass is so long and everybody's a bit jumpy because of the weather. Much better to just have a look in the open areas. Oh, and there's some wildebeest lying here as well. Let me try and I'm going to change the angle a little bit like that since we've got the rain roof on. And you can actually just see the horns of the wildebeest sticking out in amongst the impala herd. Have a look at them. So we no longer have an imposter wildebeest here. He's found his family, which is really good to see. There go Owen and Lauren. Hello. Oh, this is a lovely scene. Nice and calm, actually. I'm surprised the wildebeest are lying down. But I suppose the impalas have a lot more reason to be nervous on a morning like this, where the predators would be out and about. I feel like it's been such a good morning. We've had such different things this morning. And I think a lot of adrenaline and excitement, starting with hyenas and moving right the way through to the talamatis, elephants, and all of the different birds that we've seen this morning. And now a little bit of plains game, a little bit of general game around the area, impalas, wildebeest. I'm hoping for some more giraffes in the near future as well. What an exciting morning. I'm so happy that we got to share it with you. I feel like with the weather the way it is, it'll only keep getting better today. So thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure from all of us to have you watching with us. And we are really hoping to see you this afternoon. We'll be out and about looking for all of the different surprises that the bush has to offer. And I think, if this morning is any indication, I think we're going to have a very lucky afternoon. I think from all of the Plains game and myself, have a lovely day, and we'll see you all a bit later on.